Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
You know, it might be a little early for some people to be drunk, but I'm going to say it that YouTube is drunk. And totally not because of something else at another setting that was forgotten to be checked, because it's been a long fucking week, okay?
It's not like you haven't been home all week or anything.
I mean, it's not like I was on a trip for work until 2 in the fucking morning today. Yeah. Well, so funny thing, there's a bit of fun manipulation there that happens. If I get home after midnight, then that counts as an extra day on travel, which means extra per diem.
Sweet. Beers are on Jared.
Yeah, well, you know what? Depending on how many people show up, I might have enough for 1 round, maybe 2. If you're a real heathen that only likes shit beer, maybe 3. But then again, if that's the type of imbibement that you're going to select, do I really want you around and supporting the habit? That's the question.
I guess it kind of depends on the person.
That is a very good point.
If you're someone for who, say, 3 to 5 beers is a nice little starter, then I'd say no.
Hey, barman, what isn't rugby that girls' sport?
Yes, I have to agree with Thierry there. Friends don't let friends drink shit beer.
Oh, you guys are letting me drink Blue Moon, so...
Could be worse.
If it's only once in a blue moon.
No. It could be Bud Light Lime.
Oh, Bud Light Arita, man. Clamato Bud Light crap.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bud Light and stuff like that, I thought you actually meant that beer was supposed to be involved in it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have been mentioning piss water trying to pass itself off as something brewed. They just filter that shit out of the sewage, right?
Pretty fucking close through it. Let's see.
Speaking of filtering shit, today's topic.
No, we are not bringing up the Steve Shives video that you tried to torture us with directly.
I didn't try to torture you. I suggested the torture. There's a difference. Try would mean that I implicitly told you to watch it.
Yeah, but how many times has a video like that been suggested to talk about the topic and we haven't watched the video?
Yeah, but it's even more fun when we watch it live and react to it.
Oh, dear
Jared.
God.
Did it fuck up with the double streaming too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I said I'm totally blaming YouTube on that one.
I know who we could blame.
Canada?
Maybe. I was thinking something slightly differently, but close enough.
Shit. We've set something up before where Jay came out with the sound clip that directly related to the movie we watched this past Wednesday.
I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
Why not set up another one for another time?
She is one well-endowed lady.
I'd like to get my hands on
We've
her
already
ample details of her
watched
patent
that
engineering
shite.
balance.
We're not doing it again.
Jesus, Buckman! This stuff's been on the Stingray since Korea! This can expired in 1966!
I don't see the problem, sir. It still tastes like cream corn. That's the problem. It's deviled ham.
At least it isn't the omelette. But, Jay, how many quotes or how many sound clips do you have from The Fifth Element?
0.
Oh, we need to change that.
Partly because, to be honest, I've never watched it.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, it's never struck my fancy to watch it.
Well, you're not busy now on Wednesday. And that's not a question.
This Wednesday,
That's a
actually, I will
statement.
be.
No, you won't.
I have a career fair with my public relations society, and then I have a travel agent training session that I have to do.
Unnecessary. You're joining us and watching The Fifth Element.
Well, Leon, it doesn't have to be on Wednesday. We can find out when he's available otherwise, because time is
We
all
can do Thursday
subjective.
too.
We could do it on Thursday. We could do it on a Friday. Hell, we could even do it on Monday. Although
I would prefer to Thursday though, for reasons.
Hey, you
Oh,
just
so
chose
we
that
don't have
torture
to
on your own.
So we don't have to come up with another poll for wonderful manipulation to happen?
Now I was more thinking so we didn't really have to watch Voyager for 1 week.
Well, that would be watching it on Thursday.
Yeah.
We have surpassed the year of hell.
So it's all downhill from here.
How much is no? We actually have some really good character development episodes coming up. Granted, it's all because of the Doctor and Seven, but at least a couple characters were handled appropriately in that series.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately,
we
the
have,
perpetual ensign.
we're on 412 now, aren't we?
Yeah, sounds about right.
So 412, 414, 415, 416, 418, 419, 421, 423, and then 424 and 518 at once. Then 455, or 425 rather, and 426. And then, yeah, we're about halfway through.
Yeah. I don't know, the break might be worth it. So yeah, Thursday, about, let's see, what time would it be there? 4 in the afternoon?
I'm looking at my schedule to see if I can find something.
Find some excuse to not watch it.
Well, if you say that you can't, we're just going to skip the fucking stream. Everyone can get in a Discord and we can watch it there now.
I cannot go against that one right now.
Because now we have time. Now people are here.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, yeah, but we're not... YouTube doesn't really like that. But if we were doing this through Discord, which we could...
Don't you have a Twitch channel? And if it's on Amazon Prime...
I have a Twitch account. I don't think I actually set up a channel, though.
Oh, okay.
Let's be honest. I think I've logged into Twitch and gone to that site maybe half a dozen times.
Hopefully just to fuck with Bookpig.
Well, it started with that. That was the first 2 times. But then, out of the next 4, 3 of them were to your channel. The other time was to mess with Jive Turkey. Which was actually kind of fun. I actually caught him live once. Because that fucker goes live at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. When I'm at work. or somewhere where I can't take the time to actually load it up.
Did enjoy it, yeah.
Although I do watch the replays and the way he segments it out on his YouTube channels, which
Yeah.
is still a good way to see the content. It would be something if I could actually join in the chat and start giving him a hard time that way, because it's fun to mess with the Sonarman.
Shower tech. Get it right.
Yeah, there's that.
I just sent you a link to a bill you need to look at between shows.
Oh no.
Is it Cosby?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely gonna make VTW fun. Barman, it did not.
I don't even see it.
Nope, so you can post a link. There you go. I'll let you have that power for a little bit. But yeah, so this time I actually did give away the topic a little bit with the thumbnail. And yes, we're diving into a part of the Star Trek franchise that actually knows how to tell a good story, that actually had competent writers, and that actually knows how to deal with character development. And let me see what this fucker wants.
I'll show you all the inspiration for it too here while he's dealing with that. Hopefully you've got that all burned into your retinas and I've scarred you for life. How can you wait? Barman, are you drunk? I think Barman's drunk.
The barman's always drunk.
Well, look at his last comment. He might be a little more than drunk.
Yeah. I think that's a bit beyond drunk. But I think it's quite telling, though, when everything that you've enjoyed in the whole fucking season so far can be summed up in like 5 minutes.
I was going to say I enjoyed from 00:00 to 00:01. That was about it.
Now, but there were actually some moments when Q showed up, and John Delancey is doing his fucking best to actually save that shit. John Delancey is actually working well in it. And then you have the rest of them. Especially whatever fuck that bitch's name is, Agnes, who is such an unlikable character that it fucking hurts.
Well, okay. Now we get to the real reason why he's enjoying it. he just has a thing for 7 still after all these years.
Yeah, but then you have the skull room. What Ferengi have bones in the rares?
I actually haven't watched the latest 2 episodes yet, so I need to watch those to catch up.
I would recommend against it. It's not worth it.
All right, which form of brain damage is worse, Shives or the last 2 episodes of Picard?
I think that it's not really which one it's the worst. It's more 2 different flavors. One is aneurysm, and the other one is concussion via sledgehammer. So,
So what you're telling me is that the aneurysm is preferable.
well, one you don't really see coming. It just fucking hits you, and then you sit there and drool all the rest of the time. And I really hope that me sitting here and actually chewing peanuts doesn't get through in the microphone.
Holy shit! Looking at the list of upcoming videos on the side of my Steve Shives video here, I actually agree with him. Just on the title alone.
You're right.
No, you can't. You can't hear us?
What?
He's saying I can't hear them.
Oh, yeah, the peanuts. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I was sitting around eating peanuts.
That
Close enough, Terry.
Anyways,
Because the other microphone didn't pick up anything. You never know with this one. But yes, the titles.
So the title, why Star Trek Enterprise actually has the worst ending ever.
I can't disagree with that. No.
No. Well, of course, it was 2 years ago before, back when his wife could actually make him make sense of things. Somewhat.
Still, though. Now, I really do not understand. I can't understand what they were thinking when they were making that ending, or the rest of that fucking show, for that matter.
I don't know. I think with the way season 3 ended, going into season 4 with the time travel paradox there, I think they realized that they were only getting one more season by that point and just decided to burn it while they could.
And burn if they fucking did. It turned it all to shit.
I mean, you have the fight between Tucker and T'Pol and Archer, to where Trip leaves, only to come back after saving the ship, and then to quote unquote die. Yeah.
But then he gets resurrected as some kind of weird fucking bug vampire.
And then introducing the troll before we really know.
Yeah, that doesn't really matter. But yeah, a season 5 of Enterprise, like Damar is mentioning there, I think it could actually be done right.
Yeah.
Had they done it well, had they actually started, or just shifted shit around. That could have been so fucking good. Just switch around the Cindy arc with season 4, and then have it that, okay, yeah, we realize we really need this. We need these rules.
They could,
We need.
if they were able to do season 5, like get the cast back together to do season 5. I would suggest doing the Romulan War story arc that they have the novel on, even though it's not officially canon. Let's make it.
I don't see why not. You know,
That would actually
back
be, that
in the
would
day
make it
when they could actually
interesting.
write Rick.
Because I mean that would be an awesome storyline.
And that's something. They had so much freedom. They did not have the shit set up at the time with the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
They didn't have a fully formed federation. They didn't have all the things that they have today. A huge part that actually made Archer such a likable captain was that he had to navigate this shit, doing his best and not really having anything to go by.
Yep.
He
Flying
didn't
by
have
the seat of his
golden rule.
pants.
Yeah. He had no golden rule. He had nothing to lean back on and just say, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't like it. I'm just going to lean back on the Prom Directive. Now, he had to actually do shit on his own. He had to take responsibility for it.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, with Enterprise, Archer says it best when he's talking to Phlox about no no prime directive to follow, no rules or anything. But I actually just started watching episode 1 and 2 of season 1 of Enterprise, and I like how Saval and the Vulcans were, before they gave up and let them actually go out on that mission with Klang to what was I trying to say? Oh, they were basically saying that this is no time to inject your morality and your rules into an interstellar situation. It's a but actually, using that moral compass helped set up many things that were a part of the Prime Directive.
Yeah. And that's what made it so good. Just seeing the base, the base work for it. Seeing where this actually came from, seeing the situations that would have popped up without it, and seeing certain crew members get pregnant from maybe not actually taking care of what they did. It wasn't really made a lot better by the crew member being male, but you win some, you lose some.
Life has a way. In the immortal words
Of
of
fucking certain people up.
well, I was gonna say, life has a way. Life finds a way. In the immortal words of Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park.
Life finds a way. No, but really, even something like you remember the fucking race with 3 genders or 3 sexes, or it's something where one of them gets seen as essentially a slave, and when who was it? Was it Trip?
Yeah, it was Trip also in that instance.
Yeah, and Trip finally gave it a sense of actually being a real person, and then going back to it and fucking killing itself because it can't deal with it anymore.
Yep.
It's good Trek.
Yep.
It's good conundrums. It's good questions that don't actually. They don't have an easy answer. What do you really do with it? Do you try to show them freedom, is freedom something that they can have in their own society? Is it something where it would even work in the society that they'd have any more freedom than, well, they already have, which was being slaves?
Oh shit.
Hmm?
Former ESPN analyst and Seattle local broadcaster John Clayton passed away today at 3 p.m.
How old was he?
He was pretty old, but and that was actually yesterday. Never mind. Still, that's even more shocking that I didn't find
That
out
still
about it till
sucks.
today. Yeah.
That he did.
I mean, the man's been around for.
I don't know, they're barman. I mean, STD and Picard, they're kind of two flavors of shit. You don't really want either of them. If you were to, or if you were forced to watch one, I think I would rather watch Picard. Mainly because Picard is so far way fucking shorter. Well, if you gotta pick something,
If I had to pick something, it probably would be Picard just because of how few episodes and how few seasons it's going to have compared to that which shall not be named.
that is when you have to actually go with the Master and Commander advice. The Doctor. Don't you know you should always choose the lesser of two evils? That's a fucking good movie too. It's not Trek related, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like in a lot of cases now, when it comes to Trek, it's not just that Trek has become so uh, stagnant,
Yeah.
boring. No, those aren't even the right words. Trek has become childish. I don't mean childish as in just garish colours, even though, well, the
Yeah.
colours are part of it. But in that they don't have anything that's actually a deep moral dilemma. You remember the episode of TNG where they had the addicts who didn't know they were addicts?
Yep.
I can't remember the fucking
Kirk's
name of it.
son. Yeah. And I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, well, we had the two planets and yeah, the whole fucking thing. One was essentially acting like a fucking drug dealer, and the other one was just always in withdrawal when they didn't get the fucking drugs.
Yep.
But that's something where they couldn't have done that without a Prime Directive. Everything comes back to you have to make a choice. You can't just say, yeah, no, you're being evil, so we've got to stop you. You can't interfere in that way. You can't say, oh, yeah, but we have to help these people and try to just stop it somehow there, because in that case, you're also breaking the Prime Directive. But not letting them actually, you know, keep going with that. Making sure that the transports will run ground, or, well, will run
Yeah.
down. They won't be able to ship it anymore. And at that point, yeah, it doesn't really matter because they can't get drugs. They'll be forced or they'll be facing the withdrawal, but it will pass. And holy hell, I can just imagine what will happen after that.
By the way, the episode you're looking for is Symbiosis.
Yes, that's the one. I never remember the fucking names of them. I can't speak on the STD version of the Mirror Universe, but I'm going to guess that it sucks as much balls as the rest of it.
Why does that name? That's why he sounds familiar.
Hmm?
Oh, the brother of Kirk's son in that episode of Symbiosis. He
Ah,
um, he also did an episode in Voyager, Message in a Bottle. He was he was one of the Romulan commanders.
that was also a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it's when they're using the micro wormhole and are able to make contact, but they don't
I think
realize
that
it's
one was, what was it, 80 years before?
yeah, it's quite a ways
Uh,
before.
yeah, that one's fucking sad. It's kind of like,
Oh, and he's also uncredited in Wrath of Khan as well. Well, isn't that funny? Oh yeah, of course. How did I not put the two and two together on that one?
because there are five lights. This looks incredibly homoerotic with no context.
Well, it pretty much is. It looks like the novel cover of a Fabio book. No
And
offense to
then
the ladies out there.
I bet you that there is some fucking Fabio book or some shit that's just completely and utterly stolen some of these fucking pictures for it.
Yeah. It's really funny though. He's still alive, but he hasn't acted since 2000 or hasn't been on screen officially since 2002. It looks like, at least as an actor. Yeah.
I would have to say, with any kind of storylines that you have in any kinds of online games, I don't think it's worth trying to make something with and make a canon storyline based on it.
Yeah.
Rather keep them separate, but just make other storylines that can fit in with it in, well, the main universe, so to speak, in Star Trek as it is. Because otherwise, you're going to have to make so many different, well, compromises. You're going to have to sacrifice some things just to get what you want in it. You lose more from both rather than gain anything.
Oh god.
Hmm?
Sorry, I'm scrolling through Twitter looking for anything worthwhile to talk about. It's
Oh,
just pure
no, there
cancer.
won't be. Yeah, Twitter is never to be had, never to be watched, never to be involved with.
I should just watch Steve Shives and get it over with.
Do you really want to, though?
Well,
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
all right. But with a lot of the STO stuff, it's far enough in the future that it wouldn't change much of anything.
Yeah, there's still a
Yeah,
show being based on it.
yeah, and then also STD is not in the main timeline, no matter what they say. And Nikki, stop playing with your cows. It's not healthy. The joys of being somebody's friend on Steam.
No, but with everything in Star Trek, I would much rather have it that anything related to Star Trek is tangentially related. Say,
Oh,
like Away Team or no, Elite Force, that's the one,
yeah, and
or Voyager.
like,
Because, go on.
no, I was gonna say, I remember growing up when Next Generation was out. They had on the, I think it was the Super Nintendo, like basically equivalent of Star Trek bridge crew.
Yeah, there's a lot of them like that, and some of them work. And I do not mind when you have something like, say, Elite or Elite Force, where it's something that's essentially a side story.
Yeah.
You never really meet the people, but you don't have to meet the people, or at least you meet some of the people.
Yeah.
But it's something you don't need to know exactly where these people are. You don't need to make everything about them. It's enough that these people are there somewhere on the ship. They're doing shit somewhere else. I guess Klingon Academy is great.
I
I still have it.
yeah, there I could see I would like to see a lower decks not style, maybe the animation style of lower decks, but done maybe in a slightly more serious way of doing things.
I don't know.
Cuz like I
Some
like the animation style of lower decks, but the some of the storylines I'm just like, "Oh god, this is so stupid."
Yeah, the style of it just reminds me way too much of Rick and Morty, though.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's Rick and Morty but set in the Star Trek universe instead.
Yeah, which it just feels. It doesn't feel like that kind of animation can actually be properly serious.
Well,
It's
that's just
just
it.
some.
It could. It's just nobody's willing to give it a shot or an attempt to do it.
No, because something that I wouldn't really be against something like a Star Wars Rebels art style,
That
as
was
long
also a
as they
good one.
kept the tone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
they
mean,
just
the Star Wars Rebels actually had they had their lighthearted bits, but they also had their serious bits, and it didn't. When you had the serious moments and the serious storylines, you didn't have a loss with the animation.
no, and I think that they overall had a kind of aesthetic that was way closer to the original Star Wars than what's actually come afterwards. Because a lot of it just looks grimy. A lot of it looks used. A lot of it looks like it's been lived in. And that's something where Star Wars, well, post the New Republic, is something that really needs to look grimy because it is lived in. You have some places that are really fucking nice, but most places are, well, they're poor as shit due to the Empire and
Yeah.
due to the fucking war coming forward.
Yep.
They have some technology that's really good, but that technology is something that's so commonplace at that time that no one really thinks about it. Self sweeping floors, for one. Sure, it sounds good, but you might not actually think about it. But something like a Star Trek series in the style of Star Wars Rebels, just keeping it grimy, not dark, not shiny, the same fucking way that STD and Picard are trying to do it,
Yeah.
just grimy. You can even place it on the fucking Klingon ship if you want to. It doesn't really matter that much. But some shit like
You
that,
know
and
what?
just having it.
That's actually an idea. The art and color style of Star Wars Rebels, but Klingon culture at the time of Kalis, or the Vulcan culture at the time of Sirach.
Ah, fuck Rebels. It has to be the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is by far the superior of the two.
Yes. In storytelling in art style.
Even that last season that they put out for Disney Plus is still better than Rebels. And that has its own faults that we could go into on another day.
Whereas having something like that, have an unexplored time, like as you mentioned there, Kalis, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind it at all. Or even having something where we go back and mention shit like Shran. Having any kind of stuff where we don't need to actually go back and fuck things up in other timelines. I would just love having something that's so unrelated to everything else that it can still fit in without taking it over.
Yeah.
Like Tribulations. It's a really great episode. It is so well just fit in with everything. It changes small things, but it doesn't change the overall things that happen. It doesn't fuck anything up.
So I take it we're talking about the better stories in Star Wars that actually know how to handle characters.
Well, actually, we kind of we were talking about art styles, like Lower Decks and stuff, and we were talking about Star Wars Rebels. I'm like, that would be a good art and color style to go with for like a Kalis era of Klingon culture or Surak culture or Surak time and Vulcan culture.
Yeah, I do see that, but there was another comment that you had made right before we went on air. So you've seen enough of Lower Decks. What do you think of the comparisons to Rick and Morty with it?
Well, I would say that Lower Decks is basically the Star Trek version of Rick and Morty. You have Boimler, who is Morty,
Essentially, yeah.
And then you have God, I can't think of her name now.
Mariner.
The captain's daughter, Mariner. Yeah, she's the Rick character, and then everybody else is just kind of
Filler.
Exactly. Although I do miss the Bajoran tactical officer, and I know they did bring him back in season 2 somehow.
Well, it's Star Trek. You can't call it space magic, but maybe they found a portal gun and went into an alternate universe and pulled it back, which is we're seeing some of the comments made in chat before.
You mean they got involved with some wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff?
No, I'm more thinking of some just outright nasty green shit. Kind of like what you got at the end of season 2, episode 1 of Picard. That did look like a rather ominous body part from the Borg.
Well, you remember what I said about it. It was somebody ate too much Chipotle.
Oh, no. That's the orifice that it came from.
Oh.
That was the staining that was caused by it. But the fissure really was the rip in the clothing that revealed where it came from.
So, back to my idea, though, about, like, Kalis, like an animated style with Kalis. Can we get Jeffrey Combs to do the voice of Kalis?
I see nothing wrong with that.
I could see him pulling it off.
That's the scary part, is I think he could.
Well, well, you have that, but if you want, how about this, though? Is the actor who played the reincarnation, the clone of Kalis, still available? Because
that was the one on Deep Space Nine, right?
Yes. Actually, I think he actually initially showed up in TNG.
Right. I'm just thinking of why
did
I do it this way?
That was part of the towards the end of the Klingon Civil War arc that they had going on in the background.
That might be hard. He died 2 years ago.
That's why I was asking
Yeah.
if he was available. Since he passed away, okay, we can't do that, but so can't do that level of continuity like they were able to with a couple other Klingon characters. But Combs as an alternate is not a bad choice.
Could always do. Oh no, wait, didn't he pass? Hurts.
Oh, Hertzler?
Yeah.
JG Pet. No, he's still around.
Yeah.
He's 71, so if not him as Kalis, at least him as one of the allies.
Yeah.
Because he really does a great Klingon.
Oh yeah, he does.
Although
Just throw fucking Clancy Brown at it.
that would be it. You know what?
That would be a good
Yes.
one. Oh. I just thought of an aspect that if people wanted to tie it kind of to the present timeline of Star Trek.
Wait.
We could have Ezri Dax doing a therapy session with a Klingon. And that Klingon is supposedly suffering from some sort of past life syndrome.
That is actually an interesting premise.
And it could be something being done on DS9. It could be something done at Kronos or something. Who knows?
Fine, because Ezri would be a good choice for a therapist for someone dealing with the potentials of past experiences. I mean, shit, she has how many lifetimes of them? Well, and that's the thing is, when you look at where they could pull story materials from, why is it that Viacom, CBS, Paramount, whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days, why do they always pick the wrong source?
Because they're not fans. They don't understand the nuances that we would.
I feel like we just talked about this.
We probably did.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's part of what I was seeing through. It's like, yes, I agree that there were some great story ideas that they could have pulled from STO, from the novels, from other aspects that they could have explored, and they screwed it up. And Barman, that is one thing I will give Star Trek Picard a little bit of a pass on, mostly a pass on, because if you have enough Borg-derived technology in your ship, the Queen would definitely be able to use that as an avenue to get into your computer system. And with the interconnectivity and sensor and data sharing that Federation ships always have.
Yeah, I was gonna say just look at Wrath of Khan for that. It wouldn't take her long to find those prefix codes if they're still using that failed. If they're still using that failed technology,
Yeah. Well, you're still gonna have that sort of like master control password that every captain gets, kind of thing, in there. And so that is the least of the concerns that I've had with the way that story is progressing so far. The lack of consequences from season 1 into season 2 is definitely more glaring. And this is where I will agree with Doomcock's view of it. We're not actually watching a show. we're watching some sort of simulation of dead characters in a dead universe, because those entities from the end of season 1 didn't actually stop. That's the thought, is big brain, big meta. The universe was taken over by the AI. The universe and all organic life was wiped out. But then after a period of time, the AI got curious and decided, hey, we have access to this person's consciousness because they uploaded it to a database right before we wiped everyone out, so let's use him as a template. And now they're running their own simulation, and this whole thing is a huge what-if scenario.
It's a television version of The Matrix.
Are you sure they really want to just run the horniest motherfucker around, though?
Oh, that'd be... Well, no, that might be Riker.
Are you sure, though? Because Riker seems to actually, get his fucking rocks off. While Picard is just, oh yeah, that one or that woman, who I have as a, what is it, servant of some sort? Yes, I want to get with her, but I'm going to wait until her husband is fucking dead, and then I'm going to try to go for her. After having been twice how many times? After having been around everywhere so many fucking times?
Yeah, there is that aspect of it. That, I mean, some of it might just be limited options, because what other organic consciousnesses would they have to interface with at that point as a view back to extrapolate from?
Probably data,
but
positrons and everything.
Well, yeah, because all they would need is one positron from his neural net, and they can rebuild the entirety of it. Fucking bullshit.
Fucking retarded. Yeah. Whoever had that idea should have to try to build an entire house with a nail.
I like that comparison. Oh, you want to rebuild that house exactly how it was? Okay, here's a nail from it. Go for it.
Well, I like Barman's comment. LaForge is the horniest. He just never gets any. No, he's the blue ball, not necessarily the horniest.
No. Well,
it's just that someone has to clean up the fucking holodeck.
I was going to ask, does the holodeck count?
To some, it seems.
Apparently, to the real life Leah Brahms, it does.
Well, she might be a bit creeped out for some reason.
I can't imagine why.
But at the same time, wouldn't you be a little bit curious, though, too?
As to what kind of kinky fucking shit the person has tried to make it up with?
Yeah.
I think it really depends, though. Because if it's someone who's put up their entire personality there and try to make your personality fit them, I think that creeping out would be the first thing. If it's just someone trying to use your body, that would be another thing.
Yeah, well, and that's where the issue with LaForge and Leah Brahms got really uncomfortable, because it was based off of her psychological profile on top of her scientific literature archive. Except, wait a minute. Wait, here's a thought. And here's a fucking plot hole that they induced by having the follow-up episode. Wouldn't the computer have known of her marital status at the time it created that visage of her, including the psychological profile? Or was the psychological profile slightly out of date and taken at a time before she was in a relationship that ended up in a marriage?
I'm going to go with it should have. However, it could have been out of date.
Or it could just be that it wasn't actually something mentioned in psychological profile at all, just in a marital status.
Oh, well, no, because if you're doing a complete psychological profile on someone, how they handle interpersonal relationships of a professional and personal nature is going to be part of that. So whether or not you are actively in a personal relationship will play into that psychological profile if you're being thorough.
That's a big if, though, and considering Starfleet so far.
I do agree with that, and there may have been an admiral directly in charge of it, and we know how wonderfully competent they are once they get to that rank.
Yep. And we're not going to talk about that.
Speaking of Admiral Picard.
Yeah.
No, but even then, I would say that if it's something where someone just takes a likeness of your body and then imprints everything on of their own, that would be one thing. But if it's something where they're trying to take you and essentially trying to take your personality in order to make you like them or in order to make the image of you like them, that's a special kind of creepy.
Well,
That's not what he was trying to do at the time, though. He was actually
right.
trying to. He was trying to get the simulation to help him, and he, without the psychological profile, it was just the computer talking through,
saying you could or couldn't do this. There wasn't that
interpersonality play.
Well, not just that. There's a loss of creativity when you just go off of a rote basic computer program, unless you have that adaptive styling that a human mental process, i.e., a personality profile, a psychology profile, would give into it. So it's one of those things that started with innocent intentions, and now...
And then it met LaForge.
Well... Now here's the other question. Was it really LaForge that did go that much further with the program, or was that the program running naturally on its own after being given that additional information to pull from, and nothing was ever used? Because keep in mind, she only got up to that point in the replay before he walked in, and she made the leap of what else happened. There was never actually any confirmation.
Well, there was one thing that LaForge didn't seem as fucking tense after having been there.
But so there have been enough allusions to Riker's use of the holodeck that you can extrapolate that LaForge has done the same thing, but there haven't been nearly the commentary and connotations that go along with it. So I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, there's not enough of the circumstantial evidence to truly pin it down as her getting that one right. There's still enough ambiguity. And see, this is what's great about that generation of writers, is you have that ambiguity to play with, and it doesn't wreck the story. Whereas, yeah, we're not getting anything like that anytime soon from the current iterations.
Is it really ambiguity, though, when you look at Riker and... what's the name of the fucking hologram?
Minuet.
Yes. When he's halfway up a fucking thigh in the first one there. I'm pretty fucking sure that he's done some kinky shit in that fucking suite.
That's what I mean, is you have that extra bit to to solidify your presumptions about Riker. You have other series where they have instances where a similar thing has been alluded to strongly Looking at you, Voyager. But you don't have...
DS9.
Well, those were holosuites, not holodecks. I know.
Yeah,
In-universe, big distinction, but you know what?
not so much that as Jed Z actually having to get medical, getting looked after her and Wolf had a training session.
That was her and Worf. That was her and another being that were very expressive with their desires towards each other. But when you don't hear about... Well, no. In DS9, you have a lot of allusion to what can happen to it when you pay attention to the conversations between Jadzia and Nerys about going and doing particular programs in the holosuites.
Yep.
Barman, I would say it is so in universe, the differentiation between a holosuite and a holodeck comes down to two primary things: the size of the space that is actually being utilized, and the complexity of the projection systems and computer controlling the simulation. A holodeck is both larger and more complex. So a holosuite is cheaper to operate, which is why it's perfect for someone like Quark.
And it's so easy to rewrite the programs.
Which at the same way can be a detriment to Quark, which is where another episode of the whole using someone else's visage to be a type of person, or a type of personality and interaction type that you're looking for. Because admit it, every one of you out there who saw that episode of DS9, when the face reveal happened and it was Quark, you laughed your ass off, but at the same time, were a little disappointed that it wasn't Nerys.
Well, a little bit.
Eh.
But then again, did we really need a lot more to look at, considering the near bunny suit of Ezri?
True, but Mirror Universe Ezri.
If we want to get into the mirror universe, though, I would have to go with Enterprise for reasons.
Hoshi.
Well,
Paul.
yeah, those two reasons mainly. And there's just something about that well, it makes the entire series a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. And that is... So earlier there was the question about the mirror universe in STD. It was okay. I will agree that the mirror universe segments of Discovery were the better parts of the series. But that's still not saying much. I will still take the DS9 entries into the mirror universe over any of the others. Although it is funny how now we're essentially getting an alternate view of the mirror universe, or a mirror universe, with Picard right now. So we're only about 30 years late from what people wanted. Actually, over 30 years. Oh, okay, so I think we need to educate Cal a little bit on how the holodecks and holosuites are have been explained to work. The space in between the occupant and the physical barriers of the space they're in can easily be manipulated because the holodeck and holosuite technology is a combination transporter, replicator, and stasis fields. So while you are walking, while you are taking strides, depending on the program you're running and whether or not anyone else is with you, the immediate area around you that you see may actually be what's actually moving and not you. So think of it this way. You activate the program, doorway opens, you walk in. The program will keep steady until you reach approximately the middle of the space. And then the computer takes over, and all motion tracking from then is generated by the program, where it will move the ground under you and around you. This is why, if you notice, any time that they've shown an interaction with the barrier, it has been at a distance from the one or group of people in the holodeck. So take during an encounter at Farpoint when it's first introduced. They throw a boulder. Well, they throw a larger rock towards the wall. They're not right next to it. They have to throw it for it to get there. And then later in Insurrection, aboard the holo ship, because they're spread out a bit, there's a little more manipulation of it. But again, they have to do something at a distance before they notice the barrier, before they actually reach the barrier. And then they have to physically break it down, talking about Raffo here, before they notice that, oh shit, we're not where we thought we were.
Yeah, and then you have the episode of whatever the fuck it's called, where they had to move the colony, or a small town, settlement, whatever you want to call it.
That happened twice in TNG. Once because of Worf's brother.
Yeah. Well, he's special too.
Yeah.
Worf's brother's not that special.
Well, he's special.
Again.
Well, which brother? That's the question.
Well, no. Worf. Well, his adopted brother.
I knew which one you were going for.
Yeah.
But...
because you have that whole thing of where, when they take them aboard the ship and start running them through the holodeck, and the program degrades, it's in a spot that as they're passing by, and it was generally the floor or ceiling. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about, Cal. It was a combination Armageddon event that actually the Federation was willing to just let happen, but because of the intervention of Worf's adopted brother, Nikolai Rozhenko, who got the hots for one of the tribal women, that put the wrinkles into the story. No. That was Kern after they erased his memory. Which... Oh, okay. People want to heap a lot of praise on Jeffrey Combs, rightfully so, because of all the different characters he portrayed in Star Trek successfully. What about Tony Todd?
Oh, yeah.
How many different characters did that motherfucker play? You have Kern, you have the older Jake, you have he's showed up in he's shown up as other Klingons a couple other times. that were not Kern.
Well, just the voice alone.
A Herodian.
Yeah, he was a Herodian.
Yeah. All right. Scrolling through his filmography here. Hold on just a second.
Well, if you just go to Memory Alpha and look him up there, it'll give a list.
Oh, but where's the fun in that? Because then you can see, oh, he was in Orville, too.
True. He wasn't the Orville.
Been in Elite Force 2.
I swear he was in also an episode of Enterprise somewhere, too. But I could be wrong. And who can forget him as Bloodworth in all the Final Destination movies?
Mm.
Rodek and STO.
Actually, if we include Clancy Brown in it, we should just throw Christopher Lambert in there too. And then just have a shit ton of inside jokes about there can be only one.
Okay, that could work. That would be funny to watch.
So you have the Alpha Herodian, you have Kern.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't really mind it as long as it's done tastefully, not just throwing it out there.
I think that was it.
Oh no! So
Kern, Jake, older Jake,
the Herodian in
the Herodian.
Voyager. Well, so here's another thing.
STO.
Yeah, you have those appearances, but here's one that actually is not going to show up in that list yet, per se. He plays Admiral Marcus Ramirez in Prelude to Axanar and that whole project.
Really?
And you know what? And I will give that project a bit of a nod for casting, because you take two of the more prominent recent Klingon actors and put them as Federation commanders between Tony Todd and Hertzler.
Oh yeah.
Because let's be honest, had they put them as Klingons as well, it would have been too easy to see them as knockoff versions of Martok and Kern. Oh damn, that started fucking 8 years ago now. Shit.
What, the Axanar?
Axanar, yeah, 2014.
Yeah. When I was trying to type it into IMDb, it came up with Prelude to Axed We Are.
Alrighty then.
Nice.
Sorry, it's Stalled Trek. Prelude to Axed We Are was the title of it. Like a little mini documentary about it.
It's gonna have to be Star or Starbreak 2.
All right. Back to what I was actually trying to do.
Here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
How much of our modern day shit would we be willing to see in Star Trek?
In what way?
As in, how many references to our modern day today? Not as in, oh yeah, we need to bring up the music, but just pure references. As in, that one time where World War III almost started.
I would have to say Voyager went overboard with it. Like, TNG actually had a fair amount of references to the modern era in a relevant way, to where they didn't go too heavy with it. But let's look at Voyager. How many references to our modern era did Voyager actually end up having?
Many.
I would say too many. Yeah. So it's there are things that are not. It is nice to have callbacks. It is nice to have tie-ins. It is nice to have some references as like Easter eggs. But when you could fill a minimum of one entire season of the show just with the episodes where you make these references, you might be leaning on that a little bit too much.
You mean trying to be politically speechy before it was meant to be a good thing?
Oh, I'm not even going with that. I'm just going with the 37s, the two-parter where they go back in time to mid-90s Los Angeles.
Yep.
Fucking Tom Paris and all his references to historic nostalgia that he actually surprisingly gets more right than you would expect him to, given the time gap and the perceived information loss.
Yep.
But
And then the 1159 with Janeway's ancestor.
Yep, you have that. And then you have every episode where Tom and Harry are on the holodeck running through Captain Proton.
Oh god, what now?
We almost had the same thing too when it came to Riker and everything in regards to old-timer pubs. Or Picard when it came to his fucking gangster dramas.
But they were... I would say that they were done in TNG in a much more tasteful manner. And if you notice, it was earlier and less frequent. Because how many times do you actually have references to the Dixon Hill novels from Picard in
Like 3
TNG?
times, 4 at most, I think.
4 if you include the movie First Contact.
And then you have Data and Sherlock Holmes. I mean, they're somewhat contemporary for us.
But again, that only was done a couple of times. One of them...
Lorraine, count to 4.
Oh, gosh.
And the whole thing, by the way.
Yeah, no need for rhythmisms.
You know what? For as bad of an episode that was, going back and watching it again, I kind of like it because of how campy it is.
Oh yeah. All it needs is whenever they get into a fighting situation or somebody falls backwards like Bashir into the force field, they just need to put up the campy Batman TV show, bam and biff and zap.
Yeah. Yeah, now again, this was season 1, and season 1 is arguably the most difficult for any TV series, let alone any Star Trek series.
Again, it's to be expected too, because you're trying to set what the show is, and a lot of people don't understand the nuances of trying to grow an audience.
It would still be nice though with just small hints. No need to go back to, oh, in the century on Earth. Just, oh yeah, that's that.
Okay, I'm gonna read this aloud for everyone so it can really sink in. But then I'm going to follow it up with one question. I like how, like, with every new piece of Star Wars media that paints Tatooine as more and more of a shithole where everyone is a murderous crime lord, the funnier it gets that Luke Skywalker just grew up on this planet completely normal. Like, I'm envisioning a normal day at Toshi Station where a cyborg biker and a Twi'lek prostitute are stabbing each other over a bag of spice, and then it just pans over to this fresh-faced Nancy boy sitting at a table sipping on his blue milk going, "Oh golly, I sure do love power converters." Who the fuck said he grew up normal?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on normal for what. Alabama, sure.
And even then, Luke spent most of his time on the moisture farm with his aunt and uncle.
He's up to no good when someone started making trouble in his neighborhood. He got into one little fight and his uncle got scared.
There's so little information given in A New Hope about how Luke is actually throughout his time there that I don't know if I could use the word normal for that situation.
Are we talking about normal for being on Tatooine or normal for us? Because, I mean, his dad kind of grew up not having a dad. And he was a slave. With a bomb implanted in his, whatever the fuck it was, his neck or some shit. I just mean that the standard of normal in that family might be a bit fucky.
Just a little bit. And to think some people want to try to steal the name as their own, as if they're carrying on some sort of legacy.
Yeah, but those people are hoes, and we should never listen to those hoes. I mean, I have seen worse. I mean, just imagine coming to a crossing and killing your dad because he was sassy with you and you didn't even know it was your dad. And for the people actually knowing the story, it's so much worse.
Yeah. Although, there's a little bit of Oedipus there.
Yeah.
Which actually makes me wonder. Because Lucas admitted to the initial premise of when he wrote A New Hope was actually heavily influenced from a lot of literary aspects, including the Bible. I wonder if when he was writing Empire Strikes Back, he also had that little bit of the Oedipus bit in there too. Except instead of the mother, it's the sister.
Maybe.
But I will say, the past hour and a half, we have how much of it we actually hit on the actual question that was posed in the thumbnail?
There was a question?
I sense a bit of synchronization here.
Well, because
Oh, yeah, sure.
there is...
Oh, Eddington. Yeah.
Sharks. That explains it.
Well, Steve Shives had his take on it, which, frankly, I have no intention of watching. Because knowing him, he's going to be morally grandstanding, and I have a suspicion he's going to err on the side of Captain Pimphand being the baddie. But when you really look at that story arc in particular, a quality story arc that you're not going to get from modern day Trek, Eddington versus Sisko. Would you... I will rephrase the question to this. Would you objectively determine either one of them to be the bad guy?
I'd say they're both equally bad for their various decisions that they've made. But what is the greater good is the question. And one could easily side with the Maquis, or they could side with the Federation and honoring the treaty with the Cardassians. So it's 6 in one and half a dozen in the other.
I guess that most of the stuff is something that you actually have to look at over a longer span of time, and something that you don't really have time for in the show itself.
Now, what I would say, the crucial piece of information that we are missing is, what was it that legitimately started and founded the Maquis? Was it, as they said, that they were abiding by the treaty begrudgingly, but still were willing to relocate off of the worlds that ended up on different sides of the border? Or was it really like they said, that it was the Cardassians who started with the aggression? It wouldn't surprise me if that was actually objectively the case of what happened. In which case, the Maquis were justified for protecting themselves because the Federation wouldn't step in at the time. But at what point do you have to say that in order to defeat my enemy, I must match and then exceed their intensity and barbarity?
Just drop a few nukes on them. They'll shut them up.
And Sisko technically did that.
I know.
But in a way that it actually helped the grander scheme, because what the Maquis used similar weaponry against the Cardassians, so the world was uninhabitable for the Cardassians. So Sisko did the same thing, except had it release a compound that was toxic to humans, but not Cardassians. So you effectively get your switch that the treaty was going for anyways.
Yep.
It's just, I do want to say I view it as neither one was the bad guy, but neither one was the good guy either.
Yep.
They were both justified in their actions, but they also could have and arguably should have gone through different measures. Or at least some of the decisions could have been handled better.
I'm gonna have to say that with that, I feel like it's an issue of how much of it is going to be the individuals who get the credit blame, and how much of it is going to be the group.
I guess that really comes down to severity of what was going on. So, like, if it was something abjectly terrible, then that's going to fall more onto the individual. But if it was something that was more think of it like being the commander of an army group on the losing side of a battle, but you didn't employ heinous means in your fight, and your opposition also did not employ heinous means against you, but they just outmaneuvered you, but you were still able to make a tactical retreat, but you still lost the battle. As opposed to being the commander who made the decision to utilize said heinous means of warfare. Just being a combatant in it, that would be more of the group indemnity, not blaming anyone individually. But when you cross that line, that's where it goes into more specifically who made the fucking decision to do it. And not just who made the decision to do it, who pushed the button, who pulled the trigger.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking, because with the Maquis, you have a lot of decentralized of fighting overall. And imagine that you have a group of people who are more like, what's his face? Chakotay.
Mm-hmm.
You have a group that's more like him. And then you have a fucking Balana right in the middle of it. The Chakotays are trying to actually do shit proper and right. They're trying to not have too many civilian casualties, etc., etc. And then you have the fucking Balana who decides to, oh yeah, you know what? It's this civil center where there's like 500 fucking Cardassians just gathered up. Let's blow that to hell. I don't need to ask other people for it.
Oh, not just that. Hey, we stumbled upon this long-range warp-capable weapon that can take out an entire continent, if not an entire planetoid. I'm gonna reprogram it.
Yep. And that's really where I have most of the issue with. It's the individual versus the group. Because we can even see that among the Cardassians. We have a lot of the Cardassians themselves who are actually, well, nice people. Or persons, whatever the fuck you want to call them. They are nice. And then you have the people who are complete and utter cunts, even without the knowledge of those underneath them or close to them. And that's really where I have the issue, because in a proper military, or rather in our militaries, you have a system of actually being able to keep track of this shit. With the Cardassians and with the other Maquis, one is this fucking terrorist group with some different members with some different views on it, that you can't really get a straight answer as to what should we do, just what I want to do, and if it fits in with the group. And when it comes to Cardassians, you had everything else, like the fucking Obsidian Order, who could just sweep in and say, yeah, you know what, we're going to do this here, bloop, and that plan's gone.
Yeah, that was the thing with the Cardassians in that group is every Cardassian that has that warfare potential was either in or connected to a military organization in one way or another. It's the way their culture was. It was the way their society was. Was if you were not an outcast, you were either responding to the Central Command, the Obsidian Order, or any other of the governmental types of bodies in one way or another, and it's always for the good of the state before the individual. Which, should we dive into the philosophy that is that one and what was it they were actually trying to talk about? Because on the face of it, it seems like it would be an easy answer, but I think there was a lot more nuance to it that actually got lost on a lot of people.
all we have, 20 minutes ish. Well, let's go for it.
Yeah, because let's just call it a high school level evaluation of it. The way the Cardassian Union is set up is a weak allegory for the Soviet Union when you look at it. Because you have the overbearing, all-powerful, everyone reports to the government or the party aspect. But and then you have like the Obsidian Order, which was essentially what was communicated and understood in the Western world as the KGB. But was it really an apt comparison, though?
I would say no. Both because the Obsidian Order actually had a lot more members, and they were actually more involved in it, as in actively involved. The KGB had mostly listeners.
Yeah, with a more limited number of action agents. I mean, they really were a more intelligence-based and gathering aspect of it. So, like, it's actually been released and confirmed that part of frickin' Putin's assignments was as a liaison to the Stasi in East Germany. So he wasn't the one actually doing anything. He was just helping with the information flow.
It's kind of like, what's the name of that fucking movie? The one we watched with the KGB agent who he did not report along the shit from the author.
Oh, no. That was actually a Stasi agent. Oh, God.
Shit, yeah.
Fuck.
You know which one.
Yeah, I remember the movie. I just can't remember the... Actually, I know one way to find it.
Probably somewhere in the stuff, too.
No, I can go into my DM with Geo and then do a search for Stasi, which, let's see how many times that comes up.
Page 14.
How old is the movie?
The movie is
15 years?
Yeah, mid-2000s.
Okay.
Let's go back. Okay, that's just the end of November, so I got to go back further. Let's see. Okay, we're back into August. Let's try again.
Because I can't remember what it's called. But it's a really good movie.
Oh, and at one point, he shared the link to music video of At Least I'm Not Brett Keane.
That never gets old.
No, it doesn't.
All right. The Lives of Others.
Yes, I think that's it.
1984, East Berlin. The agent of the secret police conducting surveillance on a writer and his lover finds himself becoming increasingly absorbed with their lives.
Yes, that was it.
Close enough. KGB, Stasi, Gestapo. It's all almost the same thing. But even then, you can see the whole thing with it's mostly just information. They might have one agent per 5,000 people, 10,000 people, even more. And they made everyone just scared shitless.
Well, and a scared population in that manner is easy to manipulate and easy to control, especially when they're unarmed, that you know of.
Well, even if even if they happen to be armed, if you don't know when you'll be struck, if you don't know when the blow will actually come, it's really hard to do something. And if you try to do it preemptively, well, you're the enemy. You're the one fucking shit up for others.
True. And that's how you can end up turning the general populace against someone who is actually trying to operate in their actual own best interests.
Looking again at the Maquis and the Cardassians.
Yeah.
Just look at something like whatever his fucking name is that I can never remember. Maritza?
That is one of the characters, but he is Maritza was the aide to one of the gulls at one of the camps where a tragedy had happened, and out of guilt went through cosmetic surgery and tried to use the identity of the gull to turn himself in as a type of assisted suicide.
Assisted suicide in order to just alleviate his own guilt.
Yeah. Because he looked back and was like, yeah, we were wrong for what we did. As a matter of fact, that was actually a line in that episode. Cardassia was wrong for what they did to Bajor and its people. Guilt can be a hell of a thing to deal with. Especially stemming from a situation like that. Like,
Do it.
yeah.
Yeah, he attempted to be Gold Darheel.
Yeah. Which is actually, when you look back at it, it's kind of a fair comparison to how some of the German people after 1945 were, where there were some who were aware of it, but were not in a position to do anything about it. And think of the survivor's guilt that they had. And then you have the other fuckers who just ran off to Argentina and Brazil, but different people handle things in different ways.
Well, just remember, don't cry for me, Argentina.
Never actually watched that movie.
It's not bad. The actual musical production on Broadway was better, but
Why, in hell, they cast Madonna as the female lead in it. I mean, Madonna is not known for her acting skills. Never was.
well, I mean, she was in Dick Tracy, so obviously she knows how to act. Bullshit.
Yeah. I was going to say, have you seen any of the other movies that she was a prominent cast member of? To say...
At least Han falls well.
All I have to say for Madonna as a person is look at Dennis Rodman. Before and after.
You know, I can't argue against that, but I just have this question. Did she put that into his head, or did she just open the floodgates?
Both.
What the hell is... Is that a fucking spider?
It's a pillow.
It's a pillow, but how many legs does that pillow have?
Just enough to kill you.
Actually, it looks like it has 6 legs. So, it's an insect. Unless those legs are really fucking tiny.
No, there. If it is,
there's 8.
symmetrical, it is 8.
My wife would kill me if I brought that.
Well, it depends. How realistic is it between the first 2 legs?
I mean, as long as I'm covering it, it should be fine, right? Except for that, I get up and go to work before she gets up most days, so.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that yep, here it comes. She's spelling out the response to it.
Can be a P and E there too.
Yep.
Overall, though, which would be worse in, say, for example, a post-war situation? Having tried to do something and having gotten in so much shit for it that I can never have a normal life afterwards, or not doing anything and still having the mental trauma of so to the point that you can't do anything afterwards.
There's other variables here to that one, because idealistically you speak out against it despite the ramifications, but with the comparisons we're making, with the time period we're actually looking at, those ramifications a high percentage of the time included death. So I do not fault the people who were silently objecting to it because of the survival aspect, and then dealing with the guilt and trying to do better after. Because the drive to survive the situation you're in is very strong in human nature to begin with. So that's where I am very reluctant to place heavy blame on someone for doing or allowing something to happen where the 90-something% likelihood of opposing it was an immediate death sentence.
That's really where I feel like, in most cases, it's so fucking easy to just say afterwards, oh, but they should have done this, they should have done that. But if you know that, even something like you come to a fucking parade and you don't do, the salute of the rest of the people, and you just get singled out and, summarily fucking shot in the back of the head.
Terry's not wrong.
Well, great feat of strength, or
great strength of feet.
No, but even then, looking at something like Maritza, I think, is a great example of something that Star Trek right now doesn't understand. Maritza is a character that is so racked with guilt that he doesn't know what to do. He tries to atone for what he did by essentially making himself into a so hated character that people should kill him without thinking or giving it a second thought.
And Kira almost did that.
Yeah.
He almost got what he was looking for, but you have that damn tenacity and adherence to procedure and protocol of a number of officers parallel to and above her in the chain of command that no, we have to confirm the identity first because there be questions here. And that was the thing. I wish that we could still... Actually, I would love to hear the opinions of that generation's writer's room of what's going on today. Because just think of what insight and handling of the topics they would do if they were the ones writing today's offerings. Would a lot of these political and socially manipulative topics, how many of them would actually be presented in the way that they are?
I would say overall none of them. For the simple reason that the way that they used to do politics was they did it in the guise of Trek. But they didn't just take everything and just changed out the names. They built a whole fucking narrative. That was a close analog, but it wasn't the exact same thing. As it was mentioned earlier in Symbiosis, they're taking the whole fucking drug issue. They're taking the issue of the people being addicted, actively trying to support their own addiction. Because in many cases, they don't even understand that the addiction is actually what's killing them. They don't understand that they can get past it. And as long as they have someone else who can just, provide the drug, even if they don't really see it as a drug, yeah, why would they do anything else?
Yeah, I mean, they're...
That's a fair question, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, that might finally be a question convoluted and twisted enough that Shives actually has no answer. But yeah, with handling some of these topics that they have, I a lot of what has been made into selling points and positive points about current Trek offerings wouldn't be much more than a random character trait that has no impact on the story, which is what a lot of them should fucking be from the first place. Especially with how diverse and divergent the characters have been established to be throughout Trek, up through and including Enterprise.
Well, okay, actually, let's take it like this, or let's just make this point like this. The old Star Trek could make you, if not outright like someone, could make you sympathize with someone who was, well, maybe not a Nazi, but extremely fucking fascistic. It could make you understand him. It could make you understand where he came from. The new Trek, that's someone who, oh yeah, they just deserve to get punched once.
It's just
And then they
browbeating.
don't.
Yeah, it's. Look, I think of the Next Generation episode where the human kid was raised by the aliens in their warlike culture, and he's constantly making that high pitched
The whale.
screaming noise. Yeah. When you think about it, that by today's standards, that culture would be considered a fascistic culture, but yet you were able to sympathize with the commanding officer trying to explain to the kid, hey, as far as I'm concerned, it's your choice. You can be with whoever you want to be. And that brought a bit of humanity to the character, that you're like, okay, maybe people aren't always as evil as they're made out to be.
That's really the issue today, that you don't have the kind of width that you had in Star Trek before. You used to have it so that if you had characters who were outright fucking bad, they were still shown as being characters. They weren't just shown as being a 2D character with the words bad or word bad written on them.
In that era of Trek, the only time you actually got that was with the Borg, because they were unrelenting, unbending, and unending.
They're also some alien.
Yes. And it wasn't until Voyager where they actually started having an interaction with the Borg, and they actually cut that deal in Scorpion, which gave them the additional set piece and set dressing of that was 7 of 9. You don't actually get into the psyche of the Borg other than domination, obliteration, assimilation. That's all that was known about them. And it wasn't until later where you actually started getting that deeper look. Whereas other species and characters, you got that look, so you could actually evaluate it from that opposition side and actually realize, while I might not agree with them, you can see the justification. And that's probably the biggest thing that's been lost, is current iterations of Trek and other media offerings are catering to the people who look at reality as so basic and so rotely black and white when it comes to issues, that they refuse to listen to the opposition because, well, they're just whatever istophobe I want to call them in the moment, as opposed to actually listening to what's being said and actually trying to understand the justifications for why the other person holds the position that they do. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them. Just be willing to listen. Be willing to actually open up yourself to an idea, a viewpoint, a perspective that you never thought you could look at before. Unless you are scared of change and growth. Because the biggest threat that you are going to face by listening to someone who holds an opposing viewpoint on any subject, the biggest thing you have to fear is changing your own mind based off of information that you had previously rejected. And if you want to stay stagnant and ignorant in your position, then by all means, go for it. Just don't try to tout yourself as some sort of critical thinking bastion debunker. Oh wait, was that a little too on the nose?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, just a bit right. But when you have the outlook that everyone who doesn't agree with you is a Nazi, yeah, punching everyone suddenly becomes way more allowed.
Yeah, but
Hold on, I have a
but
video reference for that.
Yeah, but people who advocate violent acts like that should be people who are capable of being on the receiving end of said violent acts.
Should be, but how often are they?
Damn near never.
Pretty much. Where it instead ends up with, I don't understand this. This is bad. Which, for some fucking reason, people think it's a good argument with, oh yeah, but you hate it, or you just hate it because you don't understand it. No, I fully understand it. I hate it anyway.
Yes.
I think this sums up what you were trying to say, Jared.
Yeah. If you have not seen that episode of Freedom Tunes, you have about a half hour. We'll post the link into the live chat. Go watch it. Enjoy it because it really is spot on and kind of scary at the same time because this video is almost 4 years old and is still way too accurate.
Yep.
Well, with that, it is intermission and break time. We will be back on air on a recreation of the stream that got screwed up and decided to start before it was actually ready in little under 30 minutes. So at a quarter before the hour, we will see you live again. And oh boy, the topics and shenanigans are going to continue because some shit keeps happening. And some of it is actually worth talking about. Note, I said some, not all. We'll let all of you guess what it is. But until then, be safe.
Shall we play a game?
Oh, games will be played, but not until later. Typical format. Talk, shoot the shit, make fun of each other, talk about the shenanigans that are going on, and then rip on each other through game formats. Hey, we are not talking about Star Trek V. And you know what? Just for that, Cal,